What's up, guys? My name is Antonio Slenquist, and I'm one of the co-founders of ACTIV. And I'm here in Tulum, Mexico, in a shipping container, recording this via Zoom because it's super loud in this town. There's construction, there's cars driving by. But regardless, I wanted to bring you guys the content as raw as it gets, really about the first ever blog post that we put out on the site, where I kind of dive into the 4 observations that myself and my co-founders have made over the years that have really brought us to create ACTIV in the first place. I'm going to introduce myself a little bit, as well as kind of at the end, touch a little bit on where we're heading as a company and what we've been up to, because we've been pretty heads down for the past, year and a half, really building ACTIV and focusing on, our product and perfecting the work that we do for founders. And so we haven't really been that public about what we're doing until today. So super excited to share with you all of that. And so let's dive in. So I'm one of the co-founders. My name is Antonio. I'm originally adopted from Paraguay. I share this information because my adoption is a huge part of my identity, and it's really given me this drive to want to create things that have a lasting impact on human beings. And this is something that I share with my co-founders. They also feel this way about humanity and our team. Really, it's a big part of our ethos and who we are as ACTIV, as a team, and as a company. And collectively, we all have this, entrepreneurial spirit. And for me, I come from an entrepreneur family, and I've grown up kind of seeing firsthand the power of leveraging good business to do good business, to do good in the world, and to solve real world problems. And so I speak for myself and I speak for my team when, we're all haunted by the prospect that there is some girl, say in Kenya or Japan or Australia, who might have the next idea for a cure for cancer or some revolutionary product or service, but doesn't have the bandwidth or the expertise or the team to take that from just an idea and a daydream into something that it could be a full-fledged successful company. And that's something that keeps us up at night, and that is something that is really the bedrock of why we started ACTIV in the first place. And so I think, from there, I want to dive into a little bit of the 4 observations that really work in conjunction with the one I just said. So in some ways, it could be 5 things that have brought us to create ACTIV in the first place. Starting with the fact that, we believe that good brands have the power to shape culture. And what I mean by that is, take, for example, when you look at someone like a Patagonia, some people might think outdoor apparel company, but for me, when I think of Patagonia, I think of, a company that is actually a symbol for something bigger. When I think of Patagonia, I think of the fact that Patagonia represents this passionate tribe of people that really care about the environment, and they care about, bringing our world into the future in a way that's eco-friendly and where we can create a better future for our children and grandchildren by taking care of the environment. And so, again, good brands have the power to become a symbol and represent, a movement or something bigger than just, commerce and a transactional, commodity. And if you want to really shape the future of where the world is going, you need to build a powerful brand. So that's observation number 1. Observation number 2 is this idea that, we live in a digital world. We live in, I'm doing this over the internet, you're watching this over the internet, you're reading the blog posts over the internet, we're on our phones all the time. If anyone's ever seen the Social Dilemma documentary, firsthand that we are living in the digital world. This is just a fact. We are living amongst the digital revolution. It's here to stay and it's not going anywhere. And if you're trying to communicate to the masses effectively, you got to be online. There's no way around it. That's just a fact. So that's observation number 2. Observation number 3 is, what I like to call cutting out the middleman. Because we are living in the digital world, we are living in this space where consumers want to go directly to the source. This idea of direct to consumer has exploded in the last couple of years. And I feel like we are truly on the cusp of it. Like we're only in the beginning stages and there's so much room to expand the direct to consumer market. We're even seeing like the office of the presidency move to Twitter. Twitter became this thing where people are able to communicate directly, and social media just as a whole allows people to do that. And like the fact that we have our own president, or even in the last administration, our president was tweeting all the time. The office of the United States government has gone direct to consumer. And so to me, this is just a hint and a small slice of where we're headed as a global population. Like we want to go direct to source. We don't want any friction. We don't want anything getting in the way of us communicating directly to a brand or a politician or a company. And that's not going away either. That's only continuing to increase. And as we've seen, even with COVID and the pandemic, all of these institutions in the past who, the Macy's, the Nordstroms of the world, like all these massive mega brands have had to figure out how to pivot to figure out the e-commerce and direct to consumer play. And there's so many like behemoth companies out there that still are trying to figure that out. And there's so many small ones, mom and pops, that are trying to figure that out. And we feel, as ACTIV, we're positioning ourselves to really ride that inevitable tidal wave of direct to consumer. And so that's kind of observation number 3. And the last one is this idea that, with the right team, anything is possible. And we truly believe this. We've seen it, the work that we've done with founders. For example, we had a founder who had a successful Kickstarter project, generating about 80K. And in less than 24 months, we've been able to grow that from a Kickstarter project to a full-fledged D2C brand, making over $9 million in less than 24 months. And so we're seeing the power of being able to offer to direct-to-consumer founders our e-commerce growth team and what it's like to navigate the peaks and the valleys of being an entrepreneur and a business owner with the team. And because we're an entrepreneurial spirited team and we've got experience, whether it's investing in companies or building our own companies or being freelance, we 100% empathize with what it takes to grow something of your own and to have the courage to step out and build something from scratch. We know the headaches, we know the overwhelm, we know the stress and the anxiety that comes with that. And that's why we're building the team. That's why we want to create not a marketing agency that's just trying to charge, monthly retainers and, or charge a percentage of ad spend or something. We're trying to actually build an e-commerce growth team that can serve entrepreneurs like us. That's why we exist. And so that's kind of, really the fourth observation is this idea that, with the right team, anything is possible. And that goes back to full circle, what I said in the beginning about this idea that, we are haunted by the fact that there could be somebody out there in the world, in the ether somewhere, that has the next idea that could really change the face of the planet, that could really impact human beings in a positive way, but they don't have the resources or the bandwidth or the expertise to pull it off. And so, getting off my soapbox a little bit, that's really kind of the 4 observations that have led us to create ACTIV and create this business that we've spent the last year and a half really heads down deep in the trenches with these entrepreneurs that we partnered with, helping grow their and scale their brands online. That's the ethos. That's the essence of who we are as a. And I wanted to touch on that a little bit to give you guys some context as to what makes us who we are. And now I kind of lastly want to wrap up with talking a little bit about where we're heading as a company. So as ACTIV over the next decade, those who know me as or in my life and acquaintances of me know that I've jokingly, but not so jokingly, been talking about the Roaring 20s. This was pre-COVID. This was, before I knew that there was going to be a global pandemic. But I was talking about the fact that we're entering a new decade and we're going to enter the new Roaring 20s. And, my co-founders and I, we talked about how, as a company, we have this big audacious challenge as a team over the next 10 years to become the premier direct-to-consumer growth team for founders in the e-commerce space. We want to build, the training and the accelerator, like the ability to partner with, direct-to-consumer brands to scale them online. We want to, over the next decade, to be able to invest in a portfolio of direct-to-consumer brands that, we built this ecosystem of, brands coming to us wanting help and founders coming to us wanting, to grow, in a peer-to-peer way, whether it's in a mastermind or through our accelerator. We want to own direct-to-consumer, and we are going to. We have our sights set very high. Over the next decade, we want to generate, collectively over $1 billion by 2030 with all the direct-to-consumer brands that we work with, and we're on our way to do so. And so far, like I said, we've been pretty heads down. We have not been very public about, what we're working on, which is obviously going to change now that we've kind of come up for air and been able to really reflect on how far we've come as a group and as a company. And so, yeah, we really just want to own direct consumer, and we're going to spend the next decade really chipping away at what that looks like. And so far, when we think about working with ACTIV, we have kind of what we're calling the growth blueprint in mind. So we really feel like as a founder coming into our ecosystem, it really starts with training and education. There's a lot of people that come to us that have an early stage brand, or maybe have an idea for a brand but don't have the Shopify store yet or anything, but that really have potentially a winning idea. We want to put them in a cohort of other entrepreneurs and founders in, a peer-to-peer kind of monthly training, and eventually, more ongoing training and potentially retreats. That's a big vision that we want to carve out as a part of our ecosystem, is this idea of training and growing as an entrepreneur and a founder that comes into contact with us. And then the next step is really, working with our growth team. And, you might have an early stage brand, you've got the website, you've got the branding, you've got the assets in place to really rapid test a new brand and scale it up effectively. That's where our growth team comes into play. So that's kind of really what we're calling the second step of our growth blueprint. And the third part is really this idea of expansion. So this is where we get into kind of more of the legacy founders that we work with, where maybe you're a repeat founder and we've scaled up one of your brands and we've gotten it to a level where it's a 7, 8-figure and beyond direct consumer success. And, you want to start testing a new idea, or you want to start expanding new product lines, or maybe you're inspired about, an idea that you had while on vacation, and you're like, hey, I want to pursue this and I want to send it through kind of the e-commerce machine that you guys have built at ACTIV. that's kind of the third step of our growth blueprint, is becoming that legacy founder and becoming that serial entrepreneur in the D2C space. And so we really envision building that over the next decade. And we're really, truthfully, honestly, already building that as we speak. Like, we've established over the last year, really the growth team aspect. We've kind of honed in on our offering a little bit and taking this phased approach to scaling online brands with our growth team. And over the next year, we really anticipate, building up the training side of our business. And we've actually already had some of those, what we're calling like legacy founders, if you will, that have come back to us with repeat brands and wanting to test out some new concepts with us. So we're laying kind of the framework and the foundation for the growth blueprint over the next decade, and we're laying that out already as we speak. And it's super exciting. It's exciting for me as one of the co-founders to see all of this kind of go from in our brains as founders to like actually coming to fruition in real life. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for more of this type of content. We want to be raw. We want to be just super transparent and honest about where we're at as a company and what we're building and what we're up to. Like I said, we've been heads down, but now we want to be more public and start to really plant the flag as, we want to own direct-to-consumer and direct-to-consumer growth. And we want to start raising that flag for founders and for entrepreneurs to really invite them into our ecosystem as we grow and scale together. So thank you for paying attention to all that. That was obviously a lot, and also for being flexible on the Zoom thing. But honestly, I feel like after COVID, people get Zoom and they understand like the different forms of produced content versus Zoom versus phone and all that stuff. We're entering a new space. Like I said, we're in the digital age. We are in the revolution as we speak. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for listening to this, and thank you for supporting us along this journey. Honestly, it's been the feedback we've gotten from founders and from people that know us and come into contact with us in some way, shape, or form has been awesome so far. And we have a ton of encouragement going into this next year, and really want to make 2021 an awesome year for ACTIV and for all the founders that we work with. So hope you guys are doing well, and hope you guys have had a great 2021 so far, and stay tuned for more.